On with our study over the Gospel of John. And I certainly hope you folks had a wonderful weekend. And whether you're joining us live or archived or any day of the week, just great to have you. Great to have you here. And as we make note of, I'll make note of it a couple times. Is you're more than welcome to leave a comment. And you can leave a comment right on the Facebook, right on our New Church Live Facebook page, and I will pull that comment and be able to have a little chat here at the end. So, with that, folks, let's go ahead and get started. And today we're wrapping up this story of this blind man, this healing of the blind man, and it's an interesting story because there's the healing part is pretty quick. This guy was blind. Jesus heals him. And then there's this long discourse. Matter of fact, we've been covering it for almost a week now, where there's this debate with the clergy at the time about the healing, whether it was done on the right day, whether it was done the right way, whether Jesus was a sinner, whether the guy was a sinner. None of the clergy is going like, oh, I wonder if I'm a sinner. There was none of that. It was clearly trying to figure out who the sinners were. That was their primary motive. And again, the fact that they spend so much time on that in the Gospel of John tells you that they're trying to make a big point here, that there was, John was one of Jesus's disciples, and he's really trying to bring up a point here about what it is to live as part of the way. And in Jesus, the followers of Jesus were not originally called Christians. They were called followers of the way because it was considered this way of life. And sadly, we've made it into just purely a belief system, and it has beliefs to it, obviously, but most importantly, it's a way of living where we follow Jesus's model. And this is when we're clearly, John is going like, look, I'm going to tell you a story here because I want you to understand this so well. And today kind of is the culmination of it, and it's some striking passages in it that have come to, for me personally, mean something very different over the years, and very different even just getting ready for this morning. So with that, let's go ahead and get started, folks. So we're looking here at John 9, and this is verses 39 to 41. And Jesus said, "For judgment I've come into this world, that those who do not see, like the blind man, may see, and that those who see, aka like the Pharisees, may be made blind." Then some of the Pharisees who were with him heard these words and said to him, "Are we blind also?" And Jesus said to them, "If you were blind, you would have no sin. But now you say, we see, therefore your sin remains." So it's a beautiful little Jesus-y way of answering this question. Like it's obvious that Jesus is calling them out and is obviously saying, like, look, you know it all. You think you see it all, but the reality is you don't. And if you just understood you're a sinner like the rest of us, you're imperfect like the rest of us, then maybe you'd be able to see. I mean, that's kind of the underlying connotation there. And the part I want to focus on is this part where Jesus uses the phrase "made blind." For a long time, I read that passage and sort of had this view of Jesus like, well, I'm going to come back and punish you by making you blind, like literally giving you blindness. And that could be obviously, metaphorical or literal, but that the statement clearly was meant punitively. In other words, here's this guy, healed him, but you're going to get yours. Now, folks, does that sound very Jesus-y? No, it doesn't. It doesn't fit in with the narrative. It doesn't fit in with this whole way of doing things. It's a very transactional view of love. That's a very transactional view of God. That's God's going to go around and sort of, kick butt and take names of all those who don't do things right, in which case all of us would be in a lot of trouble. So what does this really mean? Well, today when I was thinking of a title for this morning's little share, I was thinking right kind of blindness, the right kind of sight, the right kind of blindness, the right kind of sight. Because I think Jesus literally is saying, yep, my goal is to make you blind. My goal is to make you blind. Now, I think you can see where we're headed with that. I think Jesus is clearly pointing them towards the right kind of blindness here, where they're no longer spending time on this silly endeavor to find out who the sinners were. The silly debate over the fact that Jesus gave a guy his sight on the Sabbath. I mean, how silly is that? And who sinned? As the disciples had said, who sinned, him or his parents? Like all that silly debate. And Jesus is just not having any of it. And he's like, nope, I actually want you to become blind. I want you to become blind to all these divisions that you've made up between people. And remember, folks, he's not just talking to clergy over there. He's talking to us. He's talking to us. Where have we made those divisions? And I think Jesus is saying, like, look, I want to make you blind to that stuff. I want to make you blind so that you start to see the family of humanity. Again, Jesus refers to himself all the time as the Son of Humanity. It's a familial perspective there. Now, again, real important caveat. That doesn't mean that everybody gets a seat right beside us at the table. There are some people who are too toxic or too dangerous to have that. But for most people in our lives, there is space and there is room and there is space for us to be blind to all those divisions we put up, all that search for sinners and sin that we tend to engage in. That's not it. Jesus is looking at relationship here. A little aside here, a piece of what I consider one of the most beautiful parts of Christian New Church theology, and there's many beautiful parts to it, is the idea that we're to love the neighbor, we're to serve the neighbor. And what do we serve in the neighbor? Well, we serve the good of the neighbor. In other words, we've got to know people well enough to find that little piece of goodness, and my experience is everyone has it, to find that little piece and serve that. That's what we're asked to do. So that's the right kind of sight. The right kind of sight is the sight that sees through all the fog and the sleepiness and all the stuff that we get into, and sees through the sin actually, and is able to see the person underneath it. And again, none of that is easy, but it's a much better world because it's kind of interesting, right? It's not a blindness that's unable to have discernment. I don't think that at all. It's a blindness that's able to see past what we consider the most important markers of identity, and to see the person for who they truly are, and move on from there. And that's a much better world to live in. And also it's like it's sort of outrageously optimistic in many ways, because as I preached on yesterday, everybody has those pieces. And can we just really kind of roll up our sleeves and get in there and serve and be part of healing and all that stuff. So that's my thought for today, folks, as we close this story. Again, wonderful to have you joining us, and hope you had a terrific weekend. And if you want to leave a commentary on the Facebook page, please go ahead and do so. And what we're going to do now is we're going to get into a meditative place. Now, here I'm going to ask you to close your eyes because I left my phone over there. So I'm actually going to ring the bell, let you relax as I, in a panicked friend, grab my phone so I can comment back. So with that, folks, just listen to this bell and find yourself nice and relaxed. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and bring you peace and bring you home. Amen. All right, friends. Hopefully, I was able to sneak away so stealthily you didn't really notice. So, what I would love to do would be if you'd like to leave a comment on New Church Live's Facebook page. I will be reading those comments as I do. Again, I have to do it on my phone because with our new streaming, we stream to a number of different sites off of one that I cannot flip back and forth with Facebook because we're going to a number of different places. And yeah, so I'd love to see what you folks are up to today. Let's get our comments here. All right. All right. Patricia, always great to see your heart. And I'm just wishing you a beautiful Monday. Marcus, good morning to you. Again, wonderful job yesterday. That was a super fun service. Yeah, right. Carl writes, am I blind? Do I see? How can I tell for sure and for real? You know, that's a great question because so much of the time, right? We don't really know. And Abraham Joshua Heschel put it this way, and Carl's a fellow pastor, so Carl will get this. Abraham Joshua Heschel said, "You know, I always want to be surprised," and I think that's a great posture of life. Like, let's just always be in a position to be surprised because we don't always see. That's for sure. Marcus Wright sees with the eyes of the heart, and that's so true. You know, I was working with someone yesterday talking about the new church concept that we reach a point where love has its own wisdom, and we start to see from love. Betty, good morning to you, and wishing everyone a peaceful week. Totally agree with that. Paige, good morning to you. The eye, right. It's a much better eye, right? I struggle to see beyond labels I put upon my fellows. Labels equals blindness. Mary, it is so true. We see the wrapper and not the gift all the time. And sometimes God shows up in pretty, as Mother Teresa said it beautifully. She said, sometimes God shows up in his most distressing disguises, which I love that. Carl writes, outrageously optimistic. Yeah, I like that strategy. We'll be thinking that as I see my oncologist today and review MRI. Did this radiation work? Be still. Yeah, Carl, I'd love to chat with you today. I've been missing you and thinking about you a lot there, bud. And it really, yeah, you know, it's there just is in the midst of Christian New Church theology, there is this deeply embedded optimism in it that really is something else to be part of that I particularly enjoy. Martha, good morning to you. Linda says her prayers. I see a number of other folks who are watching there. And again, sometimes I miss comments. If I do miss a comment, like please just know I'll go back and I'll try to find it. They don't always show up on my phone. Oftentimes I get a limited number of comments here and there's a lot more online. All right, friends. Well, just thank you folks very much for joining me this morning and just share a little time and a little thought. And whether you're tuning in from Lake Wampaupack or whether you're tuning in from Florida or Michigan or Bernathen, Pennsylvania, even, or Lebanon, Pennsylvania, where I am right now, you know, just wishing you all the very best. God bless. Have a great day. Bye-bye.